We've analyzed thousands of medical studies and only brought you the best evidence. Want to know what really works? Then stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe.
You know the feeling, right? You've pulled an all-nighter for a deadline, or maybe you just tossed and turned for hours. And sure, we all know we're going to feel tired the next day. But what is actually going on inside our brains? Well, it turns out it is so much more than just feeling a little groggy. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the startling, hidden cost of a sleepless night.
So, what is the real price we pay when we skip out on sleep? I'll tell you, it goes way beyond just needing an extra cup of coffee. We're about to discover how even one sleepless night can sabotage our performance, literally rewrite our biology, and get this, even damage the very fabric of our memories.
To really understand this, we're going to head out to a place where sleep is an absolute luxury, and mistakes can be, well, catastrophic. We're talking about the world of professional offshore sailing. These athletes push their bodies and minds to the absolute edge, and in doing so, they give us this perfect real-world laboratory to see what sleep loss really does to a person.
Yeah, the research on these elite sailors, it's crystal clear. When they don't get enough sleep, their performance just plummets. Their thinking gets fuzzy, their reaction speeds drop, and they start making simple mistakes. Now, in a sport where a split-second decision can mean everything, these aren't small issues. They're the difference between winning and, disaster.
But that's the big question, isn't it? Okay, so slower reactions, more errors, that makes sense on the surface. But what's the root cause? What is happening deep inside the brain to make all this go wrong? To find out, we have to go on a little journey, from the deck of a racing yacht right down to the microscopic level, inside our own heads. All right, let's zoom all the way in and see what's really happening to our brain cells. Because this isn't just a story about being tired. It's a story of a biological process, a takedown, really, that gets dangerously hijacked when we don't get the rest we need.
Okay, first, a super quick biology lesson. We have to talk about the synapse. The easiest way to think of a synapse is like a tiny, crucial bridge between your brain cells. It's how they talk to each other. Every single time you learn something new or form a memory, you are building and strengthening these little bridges. They are, quite literally, where your mind happens.
So here is the wild part. When you're well rested, your brain uses that sleep time to take care of business. It maintains and strengthens all the important connections you made during the day. But when you're sleep deprived, something absolutely shocking happens. Your brain actually kicks off a process that actively destroys them. So how on earth does that happen? Well, your brain has its own dedicated immune cells. You can think of them as the brain's janitorial staff. Their job is to clean up waste and get rid of stuff that's broken. Super important for keeping things tidy. But when you're sleep deprived, these janitors, they get the wrong work order. So here's how this takedown goes down. Step 1, a lack of sleep puts your brain cells under a ton of stress, and they start sending out distress signals. Step 2, these signals flip a switch on an immune response called the complement pathway. And step 3, this pathway basically acts like a tagging system. It goes around putting little remove me signs on your synapses, even healthy ones. And the janitor cells, they see those tags, and, well, they just do their job.
And look, this isn't just a theory. A study on mice found that after a period of chronic sleep restriction, a key protein that shows how healthy synapses are dropped by a staggering 66%. I mean, that's not a small dip. That is physical, measurable evidence that the brain's connections are being dismantled.
Let's just let that sink in for a second. The crucial takeaway here is this. When you miss out on sleep, your brain isn't just running on empty. No, it's actively working against itself. It's pruning away the very connections that form your thoughts, your skills, and your memories. Okay, so we've seen the damage at the cellular level. Now let's zoom back out. What does all this synaptic destruction actually mean for us, for our day-to-day lives, our experiences, our memories? The answer is genuinely unsettling. Here it is. When the brain's connections are compromised, its ability to store and retrieve information gets seriously damaged. And this vulnerability can lead to something truly bizarre, the creation of false memories. Your brain, literally struggling to fill in the gaps, can end up remembering things that never actually happened.
And science backs this up completely. In one study, researchers basically gave witnesses some misleading information after showing them an event. And what they found was that the sleep-deprived people were way more likely to absorb those fake details and report them as part of their actual memory of what happened.
And you might be thinking, well, I don't pull all-nighters. But here's the real kicker. The study found this vulnerability to false memories after just one single night of no sleep. But even more alarming, they saw the exact same effect in people who simply got 5 hours of sleep over multiple nights. I mean, that is a reality for millions of us every single week.
Okay, I know. The science is a bit scary. The damage is real, but it is not all doom and gloom, I promise. Let's head back to our offshore sailors for a minute, because the research on them doesn't just show us the problem, it actually points towards some solutions. How can we manage this sleep debt when we can't avoid it?
The first thing to get is that there's no magic bullet here. The best strategy really depends on the situation. What you do for a short-term challenge is totally different from what you'd need for a long-haul grind. But by being smart and strategic about it, we can absolutely lessen some of the damage.
So for those sailors, it breaks down like this. For short races, the best play is to bank sleep, basically getting extra rest in the days leading up to the event to build up a reserve. But for those long, grueling races, the whole approach changes. The best strategy becomes aiming for about 4.5 to 5.5 hours of total sleep per day, but broken up into short, strategic naps.
So we've seen it. A sleepless night does so much more than just make you tired. It can physically remove connections in your brain and literally change your memory of the past, which leaves us all with one final thought. Knowing that the very essence of who you are, your experiences, your memories, is protected and locked in by sleep, what will you choose to protect tonight?
If you want to analyze medical questions yourself in seconds, using evidence-based medicine principles, the link to the service is below the video.